You guys want to stay tinfoil? You guys want to, since I just opened up a whole conspiracy theory vibe, we're gonna move on, but let's stay with it. I remain within the opinion. This is why Drake's in the title, people. Drake's biggest problem is not like us. Drake's biggest problem is not is he a pedo, that narrative because of Kendrick and fans and the Grammys and the Super Bowl halftime show. No. Drake's fan base is still mega. Drake's fan base does not believe that he's a pedo. I barely believe it my damn self. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think it's more of a conversation to say, like, yo, is there weird activity around younger girls? Is there alleged grooming? I think that could be more of a conversation for people than putting that pedo label on any man without proof, including Drake, to be fair. So, but is that his biggest problem? I've always said, I think his biggest problem is the fact that Kendrick will not let go of the Xxxtentacion shit. You know, he had that song playing in commercials, that he comes out with Peekaboo on his tour, and he's doing all these subs with it. The video itself, I mean not the video, the performances and how he's using the screens on tour during Peekaboo is very, he's subbing the shit out of Drake. The way the song starts, the give a helping hand. It's still, I think, the biggest video on the Sorry It's True podcast playlist. It's like over 250,000 views. That breakdown that we did of the alleged conspiracy between Xxxtentacion and Drake, and once again, shout out to Thought Crimes. They opened up that can of worms, and then the whole internet was like, "Wait a minute!" And I was one of the people that picked up that torch and said, "I need to look deep into this and do some of my own homework." And we did what we did. But I see videos like this continuing, and this is a recent one, and I'm just like, if Drake is for bringing suits against people for damaging reputational or image or character or career damaging stuff, right? If he's willing to do that, which is well within his rights, he should be very attentive to narratives that people are pushing that could put him in jail. All right. If he goes to a show and somebody trolls him from the front row and says, "Hey, OV ho, so what? Whatever. I just picked up 10 million on this show." It's possible for Drake. Drake could do a show and make 5, 6, 7, 8. Shit, Kendrick just broke a record, just did almost 15 million one show. Drake could do big number. Like, I don't give a fuck about this fan right here. Call me an OV ho. I just made $8 million tonight. Suck dick. You know what I'm saying? That's not being put in jail though. One's freedom. So it's still going.
Drake's name has just been brought up in the Xxxtentacion murder case as a possible suspect.
And I believe the brief states that people who knew Drake were allegedly seen in Xxxtentacion's neighborhood threatening him before he died.
On November 30th of 2024, Kendrick Williams, one of the men convicted in the death of Florida rapper Xxxtentacion, filed an appeal for a new trial. But in that very same appeal, he made a shocking claim. Williams' lawyer argued in court that he hadn't properly considered a potential suspect in X's murder case, and that suspect was none other than Aubrey Drake Graham. This is just the latest twist in one of the rap game's most notorious conspiracy theories. For years, fans have speculated that Drake had a hand in the shooting that claimed X's life. Now, 6 years later, he's being named in court as being possibly involved, and Kendrick Williams' defense team is demanding a court order to force Drake to testify. Because of this breaking news, we're going to dissect the allegations that Drake may have ordered the assassination of one of the rap game's most controversial rising stars. How did Drake become enemies with X in the first place? What really happened the day that he was unalived? And how did Drake get named as a key witness in X's death? To paint a picture of the allegations against Drake, we've even combed through his lyrics to compile every single possible reference to X's murder. Has Drake really been openly bragging about ordering the unaliving of another rapper? And finally, we're going to analyze the fallout of Kendrick Williams' appeal. Is this legal maneuver going to finally expose Drake once and for all?
You put all this wild stuff on Drake, but this right here, like this kind of scares me. I ain't gonna lie.
The beef between Drake and Xxxtentacion dates back to 2017. In January of that year, underground rap fans were going crazy for an aggressive new song that was going viral on SoundCloud. The track was called Look at Me, and while it had originally been released a year earlier, it suddenly started to build up momentum and rack up serious streaming numbers. The only problem was the 17-year-old artist who recorded the song, Jassy Onfroy, aka X, was locked up in a Florida jail for assault charges. X had been recording music for 5 years, but Look at Me going viral took him to a whole nother level. Music critics quickly hopped on the trend, classifying X as a leader of a new wave of lo-fi music called SoundCloud rap. Look at Me was praised for being raw, unmastered, and totally different than anything else mainstream. X had gone from an unknown teenage rapper in Florida to an overnight sensation. But at the same time X was taking off in popularity, Drake stepped in. In February of 2017, Drake previewed a brand new song, KMT, while touring in Amsterdam. Diehard fans immediately noticed that Drake's flow and rapping on KMT was eerily similar to X's style on Look at Me.
Demon just got out of Ken. I gave my bro an advance.
Accusations started to fly in that Drake had swooped in and jacked X's sound right as X was starting to see his first little bit of success. X himself noted the similarities between Look at Me and KMT, and he was not happy about the comparisons. On March 29th of 2017, during his very first interview after being released from jail, X addressed the allegations that Drake stole his flow directly on Miami's 103.5 The Beat radio station.
He's not a man. I think he's that's a bit move.
X ultimately said that he respected Drake's career, labeling him a GOAT and a genius, but also called him out for trying to profit off his work.
If he would have showed that he's a hospitable person and that he's really in this for the culture, rather than being a nigga taking my shit, running off with it, and then putting it on his album, then he would have got my kudos, he would have got my respect. I would have let him hop on the remix, take 100% royalty rate. I would have done it.
But X was far from done. Literally the day after, on March 30th, X shot his shot at Drake's mom by tweeting, quote, "Drake's mom kinda cute, she could get it." X clearly wanted to get under Drake's skin as much as possible. While Drake didn't issue a response to these attacks, X had gone past the point of no return. By targeting Drake's mother, there was no chance that these guys were ever gonna piece it up. And all this controversy only fueled X's ascent in the rap game. As the Drake comparison circled, Look at Me climbed the Billboard charts and peaked at number 34. Look at Me ultimately charted for 20 weeks and went platinum before the end of the year. X had gone from literally jail to beefing with one of the biggest rappers in the game to becoming a platinum selling star in a matter of months. X was even labeled, quote, the most controversial man in rap. While Drake avoided addressing X directly, X made a bone-chilling post on social media a year later. In 2018, X posted on his IG story, quote, "If anyone tries to kill me, it was at Champagne Poppy, aka Drake. I'm snitching right now." The post was later deleted, and X claimed that his account had been hacked. But in all reality, who really knows? And at first it sounded like X was just trolling until 3:59.
Remember, even Kanye recently trolled this year Drake about Xxxtentacion as well, right? You know, Kanye does his bipolar type of tweeting. One minute I'm saying I'm going DEFCON 3 in the morning. Next minute he's saying, "Hey, I'm done being anti-Semitic." You know, 1 second he's saying, "Drake, I want you to speak at my funeral." The next second it's saying, "Hey, Drake, I something XXX." You know what I'm saying? Remember, he implicated him in a tweet as well. Right. It's Drake. Don't send me no cease and desist if Kanye could tweet that shit. Real talk. It's a big situation, man. Like, it's a big accusation, I should say. I shouldn't say situation. This is a huge accusation to have this type of legs, and Kendrick is not letting it die. He's not. He's not. He's out here performing it at halftime shows in an X. He's pushing it in commercials. He's doing it on tour. I went to the show, people. For those that didn't see my recap, I went to the Kendrick and SZA show. I saw, like, Kendrick is pushing the peekaboo shit. He really is.
9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on June 8th.
I'll say this real quick. My bad, y'all. We're going to get back to this. I'll say this real quick, too. I know Drake predicted the pedal angle coming from Kendrick, right? But that's one thing he would have never thought that Kendrick was going to go heavy on to continue with, even after the songs were done, was, dude, I know what you did last summer, allegedly, as it pertains to Xxxtentacion. Kendrick 1000% is pushing the narrative in many different ways of Drake and XXX. Many different ways. He absolutely is. I asked y'all like months ago on a stream. So I was like, "Yo, is Kendrick snitching on Drake?" Like, like it's not the whole getting trolled thing. We're not talking about, damn, I might lose out in this UMG deal, and that's hundreds of millions of dollars allegedly that Drake and UMG is going back and forth about. But I'm pretty sure even Drake wouldn't mind not having to work with UMG again and do some mega deal with them again, if that was going to be exchanged for his freedom, as it would relate to a murder conviction or a conspiracy tied into a murder conviction. And I'm not over here convicting Drake, people. I'm not. You know, this is one of the biggest rappers in the game right now that is pushing this narrative, and the whole internet is picking up on it. This ain't no little, oh, did you hear about this little mystery? It's not that anymore. It's already been halftime Super Bowl show. That's why I say, Drake, fuck Not Like Us at the halftime show. What you need to concentrate on was when he put that big ass X in the middle of the field, and then they did the aerial view of it, and at the top of the X, there was 2 more small X's for a total of 3 X's that he performed in. And what song did he perform? Peekaboo. You know what the fucking song, to give a helping hand, starting of the song. There's no more question of what Kendrick is doing. There's no more like, oh, is this what Kendrick is doing with that song is not a conspiracy at this point. It's not. The conspiracy is Drake actually involved in anything like this? But what Kendrick is trying to tell the world, that's not a conspiracy. That's right there for everybody to see. All right.
18th of 2018.
Developing right now, a search for a killer in South Florida after an up-and-coming rapper is shot dead, killed in an apparent robbery.
Just 3 months after X's fateful post on IG, tragedy struck. That day, X pulled up to a motorcycle dealership in Deerfield Beach, Florida, with his step-uncle, Leonard Kerr. After spending a half hour at the dealership, X and Kerr climbed into his BMW i8 sports car when an SUV pulled up and blocked their path. 2 armed men jumped out the SUV and rushed X's BMW, where they confronted him at gunpoint. X was punched multiple times while his step-uncle escaped. One of the gunmen snatched a Louis Vuitton duffel bag from the BMW's passenger seat that contained 50 grand in cash. One of the men opened fire on X, shooting him 3 times. X was later confirmed deceased at Broward Health North Hospital when he was only 20 years old. X's shocking death sparked an outpouring of grief. Kanye West, J. Cole, Jay-Z, Pusha T, and 2 Chainz are just some of the high-profile rappers who paid tribute to X by praising his artistry and calling out the senselessness of his shooting.
And so Kanye, you called out the how this affected you, and you also tweeted Drake subliminally about XXX, but then you want to go suck his dick again, allegedly. Right? Kanye's crazy, man. I just caught that just now. As he was saying that, he's fucking insane. And I swear, any man that Kanye launches those type of attacks on, if they go back and befriend him, they's just as much of a clown as birds of a feather. He keeps olive branching Drake. Drake is a fucking clown if he goes and fucks with Kanye ever again. I'm telling you, after all that they've done to each other or been through, Kanye went on Twitter and alluded to Drake being involved in a murder. He did the tweet involving XXX people this year. Drake, you go back and you befriend him. Kanye, with Kanye's voice, his platform, his tweets go viral every fucking day. And he tweeted that shit about you. And if you ever fuck with this man, certain hands you gotta leave there forever. You know, you don't gotta beef, but it's just like, we will never rock again, ever. It gotta be that. It got to be that. Some shit is not, you just can't fix.
His open casket memorial service was even held in the Florida Panthers Stadium, with thousands of fans lining up to pay their respects. Just 2 days after X was unalived, Kendrick Williams, a 22-year-old tattoo artist, was arrested and identified as the person who planned X's robbery. Investigators determined that Williams had actually seen X in person 6 months earlier when they were visiting the same probation office in January of 2018. That's how Williams recognized X's distinctive BMW i8 while driving past the motorcycle dealership that X was shopping at. According to the cops, if X wasn't driving that car, it's unlikely Kendrick Williams would have ever spotted him and ordered the robbery. In the following weeks, police made 3 more arrests: Robert Allen, Trayvon Newsom, and Michael Boatwright, who was ultimately accused of being the triggerman behind X's death. All 4 men ended up getting charged with first-degree murder. But Kendrick Williams' lawyer threw a major curveball in the case when he claimed that the police failed to investigate a high-profile suspect.
They wanted to solve the case so quickly that they refused to listen to any other evidence that didn't comport with what they believed or what they wanted their narrative to be.
Williams' attorney, Mauricio Padilla, argued that the Broward County Sheriff's Office hadn't done their due diligence to follow all possible leads. Padilla claimed that the Sheriff's Office was still overwhelmed from the aftermath of the Parkland shooting just a year earlier. He states that the cops just didn't have the resources to properly investigate X's death. During the murder trial's opening arguments, Padilla cited X's deleted post where he claimed that Champagne Papi, aka Drake, was trying to unalive him, and he blasted the detectives for failing to follow up with Drake.
Do you think in that time span that they went and they addressed him, they talked to him, No. Do you think sitting here today, years later, any detective has ever asked Drake or anybody on that? No. They never did that. So you ask yourself, how could that be?
Kendrick Williams' lawyer was basically saying that Drake was so powerful that he avoided questioning, and he wasn't entirely wrong. When Drake was subpoenaed to testify for a deposition, he and his lawyers basically ignored it. They did not even bother to show up for the scheduled date. Finally, Padilla secured a court order from a judge to require Drake to testify, and if Drake didn't, he would have to face a contempt of court charge. But when you're as famous as Drake, you also have the best lawyers that money can buy. On Valentine's Day of 2023, Drake's legal team filed to throw out the court order, claiming that it places an unreasonable and oppressive burden on him. Drake's team claimed that there wasn't any conclusive evidence to link him to X's death. That very same day, Mauricio Padilla claimed that process servers tried to deliver the court subpoena to Drake directly, only for Drake's armed guards to physically get in the way. According to Padilla, the process servers were barred from Drake's home in Calabasas, California, and Drake's guards actually kicked the subpoena itself down the driveway. The message was crystal clear: under no circumstances did Drake want to testify. Even crazier is that the court accepted Drake's legal defense and overlooked his security's alleged intimidation tactics. The judge accepted the motion to dismiss the order, removing Drake from the witness list. The trial continued without Drake's testimony, leading to the conviction of all four men. Kendrick Williams, Padilla's client, was sentenced to life in prison. But while Drake's lawyers insisted that he had no connection to the case, his music told an entirely different story.
When you start playing with certain people, when you start puffing on the wrong cigar, smoke will come.
Just 2 weeks after X's murder, Drake dropped his 5th studio album, Scorpion. The album was a major commercial success, breaking streaming records and selling over 732,000 copies in its debut week. But fans noticed that Drake's lyrics seemed to subtly but unmistakably reference X and his untimely death. On I'm Upset, Drake bragged about a $50,000 bounty rapping,
I'm upset. 50,000 on my head is disrespect.
Remember, when X was robbed that summer, his assailants stole $50,000 and a Louis Vuitton bag out of his BMW. Even more blatant,
SMS, triple X. That's the only time I ever shoot below the neck.
why you keep shooting if you know that nigga dead? That's the only kind of shit that gets you some respect. While you can interpret those bars as being about texting, explicit photos, some fans speculated that SMS could also stand for Send My Shooters. And the Triple X shoutout is an almost undeniable callback to X's name. In sidebar, Drake might really be the only rapper who compares sending nudes to smoking his ops. On Mob Ties, another song from the album, Drake flexes on having underworld connections, bragging about how he's sick of these niggas, hire some help, get rid of these niggas. Oh, and speaking of Louis bags, in the very same verse, he raps,
Louis bags in exchange for body bags, yeah.
in an interview on LeBron James and Maverick Carter's HBO show The Shop, Drake even spoke about how he was inspired to record Mob Ties right before the album was released. It's possible that
I ain't gonna lie. So you could always go the route of saying, come on, that's a reach. I mean, he could have wrote that lyric for a billion different things. That's a reach, right? But then you could also say, these rappers are cunning, they're intentional, they're clout chasers, they do this a million times over, they all get indicted over it a million. They love to do it. They love to sub each other. And Drake is one of the sub kings. Like, I think he kind of took that torch from Jay-Z, the people that is like, I'm rapping to you and nobody knows but me and you. Drake is one of the biggest artists to ever do that, right? Louis bags in exchange for body bags is Drake would probably say, Drake would say, like, what are you talking about? I'm just rapping. Just like you want Little Durk to tell me, like, oh no, when I was talking about stepping on Cash, it had nothing to do with FBG Cat. Like, it's like, how many times you want to take me as a fool when you write this shit? This is what y'all do. Y'all are coded. Y'all want to do placement. You want your little breadcrumbs there. You want to say your little things. You send your little shots at each other. And it's not always about murder people. They do it. They obviously have the artistic capabilities because they do it even in competition. You know, there's documentaries of Drake and Kendrick's feud going back all the way before Kendrick was even really on like that, on in the industry like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, they had so many shots at back and forth with each other over the years before we finally got to Control. You know, way before the battle started. I'm talking about even before you got to Control. There was a lot between Kendrick and Drake. A lot. These rappers do it all the fucking time. And then you want me to see all the shit that they do, all the shit that they write, all the shots that they take, all the placement that they do. And then you want me to get to the Louis bags in exchange for body bags. You want me to ignore that one. You want me to pull that one out and say, you've been doing this all the time, but you want to pull that one out and say, no, don't reach ARP. Make up your minds, because Durk is sitting there for it right now. Well, some of the reasons that they put on him, even though in the superseding indictment, they try to take the lyrics out, but they already brought it in the first indictment, right? Like, just asking me to be naive to say like, oh no, he meant something else. Nobody has proof, including me, but it's on the table is the point. You want me to take it off the table, then you want me to be naive, you want to be stupid, and you want me to ignore all the times that you've done this shit.
That he stepped in the booth specifically to reference X being gunned down over a Louis bag. Pretty cold-blooded. 4 years later, Drake seems to reference X yet again. In the 2022 song On BS with 21 Savage, Drake raps,
Maybe I should do a 20. Maybe I should break that 20, do a 10.
maybe I should break that 10, do a 5. Then if it gets live, do 5 again. If he held his tongue on that live, he'd be alive again. Damn. Drake's math here clearly adds up to 30, and when you convert that into Roman numerals, it spells out XXX. Plus, Drake is clearly bragging about ending someone's life because they talked reckless on IG Live. It seems like a pretty barefaced call-out to all the times X slandered Drake and Drake's mom on social media. In 2023, Drake again seemed to reference X on the song Daylight.
I wasn't there when they called the body. TPS think that I bought the body. Internet swear that I bought the body. Take more than that to go past somebody.
While Drake's previous bars sounded like he was trying to take credit for what happened to X, this new song sounds as if he's trying to distance himself from a potential scandal. It's also worth noting that all his other X subliminals were released before the court order to get him deposed, but Daylight dropped after X's murderers were convicted. While some fans bought into Drake's lyrics as evidence that he had a hand in X's demise, X's former collaborators weren't so convinced. Controversial boxer Ryan Garcia tweeted on the 6th anniversary of X's death, quote, Drake killed X, before quickly deleting his post after getting backlash. X's longtime friend Ski Mask the Slum God responded to Garcia's tweet by writing, quote, whoever believed this stupid shit too deep in the YouTube conspiracy rabbit hole, go outside and touch some grass, my nigga. And X's former DJ Scheme, backed up Ski while also claiming that Drake instigated those same conspiracy theories in order to bolster his street cred. Quote, my only issue is that after my brother died, all Drake did was throw shots to look more gangster. So to wrap things up, it's still Drake. But after November 30th of 2024, Drake may be forced to finally defend his innocence in person.
So as a defense attorney, again, you have to look into any evidence that might point to your client's innocence or might point to someone else as being responsible for the crime.
After being sentenced to life in prison, Kendrick Williams, a man convicted of planning X's robbery, filed an appeal where he directly addressed the court's failure to depose Drake. Williams and his lawyer Mauricio Padilla stressed that Drake was still a key witness in the case, especially since X had implied on Instagram that Drake would be the one to unalive him. While Padilla said he's not claiming that Drake ordered a hit against X, he has emphasized the importance of a jury hearing all possible evidence. Legal experts have weighed in on Padilla's attempts to get Drake to testify and agree that it's a Hail Mary move that could move the needle by sowing doubt among jurors. If Drake's testimony introduces enough reasonable doubt, it could potentially undermine Kendrick Williams' conviction, especially if Drake's provocative lyrics are admitted as evidence. But what are the odds that Drake will finally be ordered to appear in court? At this point, the court's still weighing Kendrick Williams' appeal. It's totally possible that the judge will deny his attempt to get a new trial. But if they agree with Williams' claim that he wasn't granted a fair trial in the first place, it's very possible that Drake might have to finally answer questions under oath about his beef with Xxxtentacion and address his flagrant bars on songs like Mob Dies. This whole episode is just the latest legal issue Drake has to deal with. Just weeks ago, Drake filed twin petitions against his own label UMG, alleging that they systematically defamed him and conspired to boost his arch rival Kendrick Lamar. Drake's legal findings claim that UMG and Spotify
appreciate we don't need to go into the UMG side of things. I want to give a shout out to Rap Law. This is a 270,000 view video. You did your thing. You collected a bunch of information, put this together greatly, and narrated it great. 30,000 subscribers. Let me take a look at some of the other content. I might have
Diddy's trial is right around the corner, and
I might have to give you a subscribe right now. Hold on, let me see what else you do, and also how often you post. Let's see. Every hidden link between Diddy, Jay-Z, and Beyonce. Oh shit. So if you did a good job with the Drake and the XXX one, even though a lot of this might be conspiracy, I'm pretty sure you did a bunch of good homework and put it together well. Everything you missed from first days of Diddy trial. Everything you need to know before Diddy's trial. Okay. Drake can't stay away from other men's girls. What is this one? Every single Drake diss and Kendrick Super Bowl performance. You got some sick thumbnails too. Yeah, I'm gonna subscribe to you, homie. And appreciate you using the clip of the Sorry Shoe platform as well. It's all us co-promoting each other, whether we know it or not. I've gotten some co-promotion with the professor. We shout each other out and a bunch of other podcasts and platforms. And Rap Law, shout out to you, man. I hope that people that fuck with me now begin to fuck with you, and I hope that people that fuck with you begin to fuck with me. That's how it goes, man. Let's support each other out here. I love your thumbnails, man. Your thumbnails make me want to step my game up. Your thumbnails is crazy. I don't like using AI. I'm scared to use AI though. I think people are gonna start getting sued over using AI. 50 Cent might be the first. All right, I'm gonna leave it alone there. I felt like it was a good blended topic, being that we was coming off of conspiracy theory relevance when we did the Tory Lane piece. So hope y'all rock with that.